Hello and welcome to Saturday Morning Cartoons, the weekly podcast that revisits, reviews, and ridicules some of the world's weirdest animated series. Coming to you from planet Altea, I'll be your emperor, Dave Drumbore. Joining me as always, my co-host Sean Beastman Deathblack Ellis. How's it going, buddy?
David. I'm doing well, buddy. How about
Are
yourself?
Are you okay? Because you legally changed your name to this, and I'm a little concerned.
It was a little bit of a process. I'm really glad that I was able to fill out the paperwork and get those forms submitted on time.
I was less concerned about the bureaucracy and more about your state of mind and wondering if like 3 weeks of Voltron discussion has made you a darker person.
Well, I'll say this. Ever since I've updated my LinkedIn profile, I've been getting a lot of hits.
Interesting. From like...
Oh, no, wait. Let me rephrase that.
I've
been getting hit by people a lot because they were like, that was a dumb idea.
Oh.
And I was like, only time will tell. And they're just like, I'm pretty sure that this is not going to look good on a tombstone.
I'm checking out your page though, and you've got a lot of like verifications. People are checking in on your status. They say you've been verified as like a planet destroyer and an enslaver of races. You've got a lot of verifications for this. I mean, I guess that's good. There's a guy on here. What's his name? Emperor Dibazal, I believe his name is.
Yeah, Dibazal. He was a good reference.
Oh, okay.
So, and I work as a consultant. So, I mean, it makes sense that I've just been destroying planets.
Yeah, I mean, you got to, spread your wings, I guess, a little bit out there.
I should introduce the lovely lady that's to my right.
I hear you have a +1.
Who is putting finger guns in her mouth right now and trying to blow her head out while we're going through this.
Who's your +1 tonight?
She is our space cat. We have Melanie Harker.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the show.
Welcome back, Yaga.
I'm a space cat.
Space cat.
Space Cat is an alternate name for this Voltron series that we're going to talk about tonight. We're actually going back to the original. And Mel, I'm very curious before we get into it, what is your experience? What has been your exposure to the Voltron franchise from the get-go?
I just want to make sure that before I say this, that any hardcore Voltron fans sit down. But I was always convinced that Voltron was actually a part of the Transformers universe.
I mean, I can understand it.
Yeah, I thought that Voltron was like Bumblebee or whatever the fuck that other thing is called.
I love that you've just...
The one that doesn't have a voice in the Michael Bay franchise.
He's got just a radio lodged in his throat.
No,
I love that you insulted two mega nerd franchises in one sentence there.
I tried to let people down as much as possible.
No, that's fantastic. I actually like having people in that don't have a background or familiarity with the shows and the series that we talk about, because then they can give us like an honest reaction, especially as not like an 8-year-old kid. I don't think we've had an 8-year-old kid on the show yet, just me and Sean.
We need one though.
Now, legally, I don't think we're allowed to have one up this late, so yeah.
And then visually, I've definitely seen images of like the dudes in their suits and stuff. And I think I got them confused with Speed Racer, which is also really offensive.
Wow. And I'm not even saying wow is like, how could you possibly make that get that confused? I'm saying wow, like that actually makes a lot of sense.
Right? And I really enjoy Speed Racer. So as a fan of that, I was just like, oh, that's interesting. I guess maybe I just haven't seen enough of it.
And as a fan of Speed Racer, did you watch from episode to episode, Melanie, thinking, when are they going to fight? When is he going to race those 5 fucking lions?
When is that car going to turn into a lion?
I was waiting patiently.
I know, she was watching Mask.
Look, I'll tell you what. One thing Speed Racer has over this series, at least their frickin' uniforms match their vehicles.
Oh, God.
It's true.
We've been griping about this for 3 weeks now, so I think we're almost over it. Let us just get through this episode and we'll be fine. We are talking Voltron tonight, but we're actually talking pre-Voltron. We're going to be talking Beast King GoLion, which was, as you remember from a couple of weeks ago, this was the original Source series that Voltron was hacked and edited and sort of massaged into to become what it was. But this is the original, and this is the first time I've ever watched it. Sean, how about you?
This is the first time I'd ever watched this as well.
And the first time for Melanie too, right?
Oh, no, I've watched this my whole life.
She's been,
guys.
Grew up with it, man. And still confused it with Speed Racer and Transformers. But no, this is great. So it's the first time we all watched it, so we're going to give you guys a really fresh take on our reaction to it. But first, I'm going to turn it back over to Sean. He's going to give you a brief history of where this series came from.
Yes. So Beast King GoLion, otherwise known as Hayaku Jo GoLion, the king of 100 Beasts GoLion is a Japanese super robot anime television series. The animation from GoLion was edited and trimmed to create the lion version of the US Voltron Defender of the Universe series with new names and dialogue, as well as several plot changes. In 2008, GoLion was released on Region 1 DVD in 3 volumes.
And thank God it was. You can actually just kind of find it online, which is what we did for this one.
Yeah, it's just on YouTube.
Yeah, and it's in like its original Japanese too, with subtitles, which is much more than the producers they had back in 1984. Mel, go.
So a quick question, again, never having seen Defender of the Universe.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
So did they literally just take the film footage or the cartoon footage of this and they like cut it up and then dubbed it in English and like completely redid it?
Yeah, well, let me answer that by saying that there's a guy named Peter and a guy named John who purchased this franchise.
Not the guys from the New Testament. It doesn't go back that far.
Yeah, correct.
Just clarify.
There were 2 guys that purchased the rights to this series, and then they were not able to. They evidently, for some unbeknownst reason, decided not to translate this in any way, shape, or form to understand any of the dialogue or any of the context. And just watching visually what was going on, they filled in the plot and cut it for the American version based off of those assumptions.
So it's Dragon Ball Z abridged if they just made that a show, like a real show.
Kinda, yeah.
It's almost worse than that. I mean, I guess it's a pretty good parallel because there was a lot of violence in the original Dragon Ball Z and stuff that they kind of cut out. But the Dragon Ball Z Kai, is that what you're talking about? Like the abridged version?
No, there's a parody of Dragon Ball Z, and I'll keep this short because it's not on topic, but
sure.
a parody of Dragon Ball Z that is over less episodes where they cut out a lot of the middle stuff and they just sort of give you like the blow by blow, but they are dubbing it. Like they dub it in English and it's ridiculous.
And
it's hilarious.
It actually turns out that some of the guys that are dubbing it actually they work for the American company that translates and does a lot of that voice work.
Oh, it's funny.
In the States. And so they are very, very familiar with the original source and content material. And so the goal for them is just to trim it down as much as possible and really kind of get to the meat of the series without the 15 episodes of Goku waiting
Powering
for a spirit bomb.
A skin bomb?
And so,
yeah.
The skin bomb, waiting for that skin bomb.
We'll send y'all a link so you can go look at it yourselves. But it feels very similar to, I think that's ridiculous. It sounds like something that a couple kids on YouTube would put together.
Yeah,
so
this is like
actually,
the opposite of that. That sounds like something that's
exactly.
actually like well thought out and well produced. Yeah.
So this is actually, Dave's 100% correct. This is the opposite. So the Dragon Ball Z abridged version is GoLion. And then these guys purchased it and created Dragon Ball Z by editing in all of the unnecessary crap that everybody's like, how long are you going to scream for, bro? Like, you've got to have lungs of magic. Like, that's impressive. Like, so it was, it's all that stuff put in there.
So here's the thing. So this will kind of help to clarify what this show was actually about if you've got Voltron on the mind. Because there's a lot of different things that happen. We're going to go through the sort of first 4 introductory episodes of this new series, but for me, I only got to watch the first one, and it is like drastically different from the first episode we watched of Voltron.
Oh man,
it's crazy. So let's get into it a little bit. So GoLion's story is set in 1999, which is hilarious to begin with, when the planet Altea is subdued and enslaved by the Galra Empire. 5 space pilots return to Earth to find the planet annihilated by thermonuclear war. All right, I'm in the second sentence of the synopsis, and it's already a drastically different show from the one we just watched.
Oh boy.
Eventually, the explorers are captured and enslaved and forced to fight for their lives in Emperor Daibazal's arena. The young pilots escape and eventually land on the planet Altea, where they discover the secret of mighty sentient robot GoLion, the only weapon powerful enough to defeat Emperor Daibazal's forces. Thousands of years ago, GoLion was an arrogant robot who, now hold on for this one because this is crazy.
This is the best.
Mm-hmm.
Who, after defeating several beastmen, tried to challenge the goddess of the universe in battle but failed. For GoLion's hubris, the goddess taught him humility by separating him into 5 pieces in the form of 5 lion robots, or robot lions, that sailed through space and crash-landed on Altea to lie in wait for those who would one day reawaken him to fight evil once again. Holy shit. Just reading that synopsis, I was just like, where has this show been for 30 years? Why have I been wasting my time with Voltron? Bobby Anthem, this is when you come back into the show and you listen to this hour, and then you join us as we watch Beast King GoLion, and then you never watch Voltron again.
If you miss this, GoLion tried to fight God.
He was like,
tried to destroy God.
He said, I'm a giant robot machine thing. I beat up all the beast men who are giant and flying through space for some reason. There's like a big bat creature, whatever. I killed him. I'm going to go fight God now because it's all I got left to do. God's a big chick. She says, knock that shit off. I'm going to split you into 5 robot lion pieces. And you're going to go chill for a while. The end / beginning. It's the craziest thing ever.
That's what happens when you try to fight a lady.
Yeah, lady goddess.
Yeah.
You end up totally undone.
His hubris. His robot hubris.
If you're rolling into an IHOP anywhere in the continental United States around 4 o'clock in the morning looking to get pancakes and all of a sudden a woman starts a fight with you, A, don't engage in that fight.
No.
But B, make sure that you pull out your phone and you film that. That's something I'm going to want to watch on YouTube later.
Yeah.
After I'm done watching GoLion, because it's so good.
Definitely don't pick that fight because she's going to dismember you and leave you in the trunk of like a Corolla somewhere. Yeah, it's the best possible scenario that's going to happen.
Not good, guys.
No, it's not good. Not lions. You're not made of lions. Here's a biology fact for everyone tonight. You are not made of 5 lions. Sorry to break it to you.
Oh, I'm so upset that I took a drink when you said that.
I know.
I'm disappointed.
I timed it. So, with that in mind, let's get into this one. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of the story itself, though, let's talk about this theme song. Because
let's talk about it.
If you remember back to the original one that Sean and I talked about, it was basically just kind of like one really cool synth horn moment, like heralding something awesome about to happen, but it was surrounded by a bunch of useless narration, which was just exhausting. So let's talk about this one. Mel, it sounded like you had some thoughts on the theme song.
So I've had some, now that I've listened to the theme song 4 times in a row, I've had some varied thoughts about it. The first thought that I had about it was that this sort of felt like if you closed your eyes, it was a Japanese Xanadu.
Okay.
Like it's got this 70s disco, but like really happy we all love and are going to try to have sex with each other feeling.
I like it.
Then
I like it. I like where you're going
but
with
then once I started listening, because they come up with this, 1 and 1
plus
and
1
plus
plus
1 whatever. Then it
I'm
started
like, they're
going
to get to 5. It's going to be great.
I feel like I've referenced the song before in the past, but it made me think of that song. What's it called? Yatta.
Yeah, it made me think of Yatta.
GREEN leaves, and then like that whole feeling, yatta. And so like it really made me think of that as well. Kind of like a nice combo.
Yeah,
okay.
No, it was great. I definitely thought of Yatta while I was watching this. So it was weird because they intro everything with like this robot lion that's fighting God, and then it's split into 5 separate lines to go chill out on Earth, and then they just go to this kind of like poppy, peppy, kind of fun little song that just introduces the 5 guys, their lions, and Voltron fighting in space.
It doesn't have all of the terrible cuts and fades.
The Rolodex
the
flips?
original, the Rolodex fade. It doesn't have that. So I mean, that's a bonus in and of itself by virtue of leaving that out.
Yeah, definitely. Anything else on the theme song? I just thought it was fun. It was a cool one to listen to. The outro is pretty decent too. It's very just standard Japanese anime stuff, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I think I enjoyed this in more of a way than I enjoyed the original Voltron.
Yes.
Because I felt like this was an actual theme song that, like you said, it had sort of that 70s kind of like, positive vibe, and it kind of built you into something that is supposed to be a fun show, and I feel like that momentum was lost in the original Voltron, but it was retained for GoLion, and so I appreciated that.
Yeah, the only thing I missed in this one was that horn section.
That's right. Did you miss the weird distorted Defender of the Universe at the very end?
No, I did not miss that.
Yeah, I didn't miss that.
One of these days, I'm gonna download a voice modulator on this, and we're gonna have a lot of fun with it. But it is not this day. All right. So let's dig into the characters a little bit. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on them because they are essentially the same ones that we've already talked about for 2 episodes now. They really keep the traditional characters together. Except remember, this is like the traditional Japanese characters with the traditional Japanese names and their original personality. Now, they're all in the same color uniforms that you come to know because it's all the same footage. And they also pilot the same multi-discolored lines, which drives us crazy.
Driving me crazy.
But just real briefly, we'll kind of go through them. So we've got Akira Kogane, and he is nicknamed Chief. and he's the leader. So he's the guy that he's Keith from the Americanized version, right? So he's wearing the red uniform and piloting the Black Line. So that's kind of all we got going there. These guys are just for the characters themselves, they're more developed than the American version would let them be. You could just tell from the first episode by itself. Sean had mentioned a couple episodes ago that he likes when the teams are kind of all together to begin with, because they have this sense of this camaraderie, this teamwork that they have. You know that they've got each other's backs, and that you don't have to like watch them kind of struggle to work together as a team. You already know that they're there and they're gonna watch out for each other. And this definitely came through pretty strongly, I think, in this first episode, way more than it did in the Americanized version.
Right.
So each of these kind of personality profiles comes through a lot stronger. You want to talk about? You want to talk about Quiet? Yeah.
Right. We have Takashi Shirogane, who pilots the Blue Lion and wears the black uniform, and he is the version of Sven that we have that eventually dies.
Yeah, and then Akira Kagane was based on Japanese word for gold, so Shirogane is actually based on Japanese word for silver. And if you remember to our discussion last week for the new Netflix series, Voltron Legendary Defender, the guy in the black uniform is actually named Shiro instead of Sven, and this is why Shiro has that name, because he's actually named after the original Japanese character. Yeah.
Fun fact.
That's nice.
I like that.
It's pretty nice. They did a good job, like we talked about. They did a good job of kind of melding sort of the best parts of both series to something that is sort of in between the two. But yeah,
I wanna hope and think that, fingers crossed, that Voltron in the new Netflix series still attempts to fight God. And
I guess we'll find out.
Killing me, Dave. Killing me.
So Mel, do you want to take us through Moody a little bit? How you feel about Moody?
So Moody is here we go.
You got it.
Isamu Kyogane?
Yeah, we'll go with that.
I'll go with that. So Isamu pilots the Red Lion and wears the blue uniform.
I'm so like, my spine is like
It's just
tingling right now. It just drives me crazy.
Yeah, really. It's like the American lion.
He's the American. It's the American lion.
And it's also moody as fuck, so it totally makes sense.
That's right.
Just like America.
Yeah. This is the like Lance version that everybody else knows. So he's kind of the ladies' man character, the sort of second in command. Kirogane, based on the Japanese word for steel.
Still same handsome coif with a mullet in the back.
That's right.
Still rocking
Can't get enough.
It's like the opposite of what a mullet should be. It's just party everywhere. So now we come to Tsuyoshi Sato, whose nickname is Hothead. This is, of course, Hunk. This is the big guy, the kind of dopey guy. He's always eating. He's always involved with food. And to Sean's point a couple episodes ago, Sean said it wasn't really like a yellow line and a yellow suit. It was more kind of orangey or some sort of like metallic yellow color. So Sato is actually based on the Japanese word for bronze. So that makes a lot more sense with his kind of color scheme. So that's Tsuyoshi.
I will say this, that for the voice acting, the biggest thing that we've made fun of so far is that, for Takashi Shirogane, Sven having this kind of very weird talk every time and understanding how it is, because in the American version he's Norwegian,
which makes zero sense.
It's 0 sense. And in Hothead that we have here, had like this really kind of like forced, almost like sounding like hernia going to the bathroom voice actor that was behind it. And it is terrible. At least in these, in addition, and this is sort of rolling into nickname Shorty, Hiroshi Suzushi, for Shorty, he is what Pidge would have been.
Right.
And in the green uniform, thank God, piloting the Green Lion, because at least that matches the hell up, other than driving me up the fucking wall. But the voice actor that they had for Pidge was such a high nasally voice, and with these voice actors, at least it was just regular people voice acting these things. It didn't seem like they were trying to play into some garbage trope that John and Peter, that's right, you heard me, I'm calling you out, John and Peter, that they had created for these different characters in order to kind of stress, I guess, maybe some of the further differentiation that they had between the characters, but ultimately just making them laughable in the way that they speak.
It was pretty much like the Americanized version was just a straight up cartoon, and it was like these guys didn't understand that the Beast King GoLion version was not cartoonish at all. It was really serious and really dark and super violent. And they got that the violence wasn't going to fly in America, but they missed the part where it's like, oh, this isn't like a Looney Tunes cartoon where it's just like violence, but everything's fun and silly. It's like serious stuff. So thankfully, the Japanese version, like the voice acting, was a lot more professional. And this description actually explains Pidge. Well, Pidge, as we know him, as 12, which makes somewhat more sense, even though most 12-year-olds probably couldn't jump 50 feet in the sky and grab a vulture by its talons. But, you know, whatever.
Still sexually ambiguous as hell.
What?
How do you feel about Shorty, Mel? You like Shorty? You get Shorty?
I can't get Shorty.
Can't get Shorty?
I can't get with Shorty.
You can't get
Why
with
is
Shorty
wearing a headband? Can we just talk about it?
Let's talk about the headband, his little beret.
This pixie fairy haircut and a headband. Like, I'm cool with it if he wants to express his feminine side. That's fine. Whatever. I'm down. But why you gotta confuse the shit out of us?
And them kids. Confused kids everywhere.
His animation has like these cute little wings, these like cat eye wings on the side of, like, it's very feminine. Why? He's tiny. We get he's a child.
He's 12. He hasn't figured out what's going on yet, I guess.
Oh.
I don't know. His name, Suzuishi, is based on the Japanese word for tin. So I did not realize that there was like this metallic kind of background to everything. Everybody's got kind of like an element or a different metal. Kind of interesting.
It's fun for a robot show.
It's fun for robots. So I also didn't know that the princess in this one wasn't named Allura, because apparently in the American version, they were like, oh, because she's alluring. So her name's Allura, because puns. But in this one, her name is Princess Fala, which I don't know what Fala has.
Just going to call her Princess Falafel.
Princess Falafel. Delicious.
Princess Falafel.
Oh, come on.
Delicious falafel. She's only 16, and she's raised by, how did they pronounce this guy's name again, Sean? Ribel?
It was Ribel.
No, this was Karan/Korin. Yeah, in the previous
Right.
episodes. And now we've got Ribel. So it's pretty much the same cast of characters. They're a little bit more professional this go-round for GoLion. And they're more developed, and the relationships amongst all of them is quite a bit better than the other one. It's not quite as two-dimensional and cartoonish. And it's because the stakes are a lot higher and the thematic material is a lot more adult, mature, and serious.
And there's actual stakes in this program. Like you actually feel like they are in a threatened situation or position where their lives are at risk, as opposed to Voltron, where it sort of felt like, don't worry, we're gonna stumble ass backwards into these 5 lions. And this one, it actually seemed like in some cases they kind of earned it.
Yeah, and I mean, right out of the gates, one of the things that I complained about in the first episode of Voltron was that, you know, our Voltron force happened upon a planet that was decimated by, you didn't know what. It just looked like it had been laid to waste by, you know, nuclear explosions or just like really bad fire or just kind of all kinds of military activity. And they were just like, oh, everybody's safe and sound in their underground bunkers and everything's fine. This episode, however, takes quite a different tack. And I mean, it's crazy to begin with, because all the things you see in Voltron Defender of the Universe, the ships that you see, the planets that you see, they're all different. It's all the same footage, but it's all described differently. What they say is planet Eris is actually Earth. What they say is a like an Alliance fighter ship is actually one of Zarkon's ships that they happen to like steal and are like basically now pirates on. It's crazy how much stuff is different. Like that completely blew my mind how much has actually changed from the original series.
A lot of the back and forth that I criticized the show so heavily about, with going from the Voltron Force to the Galaxy Garrison to our bad guys, and sort of each step of the way, all they were doing is recapping exactly the same conversation that happened 10 to 15 seconds previous.
Right.
There's very little of that.
No, it's because they don't need to do that, because there's actual like serious stuff happening.
Right.
So again, for this first episode, this one was called, the Japanese version, we'll just stick with that for tonight, was Escape from Slave Castle. All right? Escape from Slave Castle. That's what we're starting with for this first episode, for a show for kids. So, Mel, what were your first impressions of this when you started this series up? After, you know, Voltron's done fighting the goddess of creation and getting split into 5 pieces after all that.
So we happen upon this castle with these ugly MFers, and they are like, cool, we're enslaving all of these beings that we've just captured, and they are like, the dark shit just begins.
Yeah.
They start whipping these guys, like violently whipping them, and then they're like being marched off, and you kind of don't know where they're going. And then we get into a realm that's, there's a lot of like really Greek and Roman elements to this show, which I don't know if that kind of holds over into regular Voltron, but
No,
not at all, I guess.
Anytime you have to ask yourself, hey, this is interesting, I wonder if it's in that other series. The answer is invariably
the
no.
answer's no.
So all these people that have, or these different peoples that have been captured by, I'm just gonna call him Diabetes because I can't remember his name.
He got the diabetes.
He's got the diabetes.
Emperor Wilfred Brimley got the diabetes.
Diabetes.
Just call him
whatever.
D.
Diabetes.
Just call him
I'm
D.
calling him Diabetes.
Diabetes. Perfect.
So Diabetes has got all these slaves, and what he does with the slaves is he makes them all fight each other in these rings, and all the people, Diabetes's people, are like they're drawn to insanity watching these different beings fight the death black beast man, which
is really a bloodlust. Like it's like a bloodlust, like sex frenzy. It seems like
crazy
in some cases.
It is straight up Gladiator.
Oh yeah, and I love the one it was kind of a throwaway line where one of the slave masters is like, take the ones who survive to fight again, and the ones who are too weak, throw them to basically like the grinder and turn them into food for the rest of the slave.
Yep.
What?
Slave stew.
Slave
That's really
stew.
what they call it.
Yeah.
And not just called it, like they showed it, they served it.
Oh yeah.
There's like
guys,
bones.
They're really big on recycle, reuse, reduce there.
The 3 R's of Slave Planet. Yeah.
They have regular just rubbish. They have cans and bottles, and then they just have arms and legs.
Yeah. Torsos. Go over here.
Torsos usually tend to have a lot of just organs in them, so you're not going to eat those organs. So just arms and legs. And heads just tend to have a lot of mass in it. So human head weighs 8 pounds, Dave.
Look, I'll tell you what though. Emperor Diabetes really has like a well-oiled machine running, oiled with the blood of his slave workers, but it's still a well-oiled machine.
Well, when you have the Death Black Beastman, who with one hand can literally make a man explode.
That was amazing.
That was insane.
When that dude's eye flew out.
I know.
Did you see that? I rewound that and watched it. Like, did that just happen?
There's one point where they just show the bedlam that has occurred on the battlefield, and it's just some dude's arm just severed from the rest of his body, just hanging. It's like a scene from Saving Private Ryan or Band of Brothers,
yeah,
like
some sort of military
epic.
Yeah,
gruesome battlefield scenes of people like just drug with like half of their body on one side and another half on the other, and you're just like, this is a kid's cartoon.
Yeah.
Peter
and John bought this and then sanitized the shit out of it. It's no wonder nothing was left.
Damn.
Like sanitized as in like dumped in a bucket of bleach.
Yeah, just bleach and just scrubbed all the bloody parts out of it. Because even so, there's at one point, I think I'm getting ahead of myself. I don't want to get to the part where the guys are on the ship yet, because we haven't yet. We didn't meet our Voltron force yet. So all this stuff is going on. Literally the first probably 5-10 minutes, the first third of this first episode is dedicated just to the bad guy. It's one of these weird series where we're introduced briefly to the hero, but then a major part of the episode is dedicated to the bad guy. So you're watching all these slave masters whip and beat and grind up and murder and destroy like all these slaves, and then you also get to cut to Emperor Diabetes, which Mel, I know is your favorite. So if you have more on him.
He's my favorite. Yeah. I just want to make sure that the viewers get, and again, not knowing what they know about the original Voltron, the picture of his court, if you will. So Diabetes has this advisor who looks like, so Diabetes also has a very particular look about him. Yeah. He kind of looks like a frogman
He's purple
situation.
Frogman.
Right? Like a frogman alien situation.
Yeah.
And so he has an advisor who is like a darker purple version of him with a hood up, and then my favorite demon cat that sits on his lap.
Jaga.
And the demon cat can like see things.
Oh, that demon cat can do a lot.
The demon cat does a lot of stuff, but the two of them are sort of psychically connected and can like see
she's like
things.
she's like a familiar for a witch kind of thing.
Sort of,
yeah.
That's a good parallel.
Their relationship is actually really cool in the sanitized American version. So I would love to see what kind of crazy shit they get up to in this one.
We can talk more about that when we get there.
It's nuts.
So then we've got like a lieutenant commander who has like a fake eye, or not make a fake eye, but he's got like a little
he's got like a patch kind of thingy.
Patch zoop. Down.
Yep. Little Patch Adams on his arm.
Patch Adams. So I just wanted to make sure that we had those players in play.
Yeah, the cool thing is, if you guys have watched Voltron, pretend you never listened to a word of it, you can at least get the visual of what's going on. But this is like the real shit behind the scenes. This is like the real story of what's been going on.
Yeah.
So then, so we have him kind of like holding court. He's got all his like robot Nazi minions kind of lined up and like saluting him and Zig Heiling him and all kinds of stuff. And everybody's like, wow, you're like super great. And we get like, man, there's like so many cool slaves and stuff. And we've even got some like Earth slaves hanging around. There's like 5 dudes from Earth that are just like, yo, I just wanted to be slaves and hang out here. So we got that going.
True.
You want to talk about them Earth slaves real quick?
You know, I think that this was the moment for me that was really interesting and differed a lot from the original series.
Yeah.
So if you remember in the original Voltron Defenders of the Universe, the 5 space explorers that we have, they have decided that they are going to break out of this enclosure of captivity, and
up to this point you haven't even seen them. This is the first time you see them when they're already captured.
So at this point, they, in the American version, in the sanitized version, they have decided that they're going to do it, and they're just like, we just have to wait until dark.
Right.
And you're just like, okay. And then a guard walks up to the gate in the US version and goes, oh, they're sleeping. We won't want them to fight tonight. They'll be better fighters in the morning. And then just kind of walks away.
Just let them get their rest.
I bet if they get some more vitamins in them, they really are gonna fight like hell tomorrow.
They get some more slaves, too.
But like that was, for me, that was like the moment of failure. If I had to look at anybody who fucked up the American version, I was like, yeah, it was that guy. He could have like opened up the gate and made them go fight tired
to the death.
The whole series would have been done. Episode 1. Yeah. Like end of series.
Bad guys win.
But
sorry.
Instead.
Maybe next time.
But in the original GoLion version, it's just a guy who kind of looks in on them and sees that they're all sleeping, doesn't say a word. He's like, I'm just doing my rounds. Yeah. How do I know? I'm working. Leaves, and then they all kind of spring into action like, we're breaking out of here, right? I'm like, yeah,
well, and haven't they already fought at this point? Because they're all sort of talking about like, isn't it crazy that we've all survived this?
Well, they come back, and here's a crazy thing I just remembered from the original. They come back, they're all scraped up, they can see the arena, so they were like watching other people basically get like torn apart, dumped into the slave stew, where these monster beast killer men are like eating like fairly like barely cooked raw limbs of human beings. They're just like just gnawing stuff off the bone,
and they are just pulling
meat off like a turkey
muscle
leg
and sinew.
Like a turkey leg at a Renaissance fair.
Exactly.
And it's amazing. And there's like sternums with like rib meat still attached to it, just like laying everywhere. It's one of the most gruesome things I've ever seen, but it's great. But yeah, to Mel's point, these guys have all fought and they've survived the day of fighting, because they come in, they like roll their sleeves up, they're all scratched up, marked up. They've got a slave tattoo, which was mentioned in the original one, but it's just, they just kind of roll their sleeves up and they're like, yeah, these guys tattooed me. I'm gonna make them pay for that. And they're like, yeah, they tattooed me too. But in this,
it was Hunk.
It was Hunk, and like
they tattooed me.
I can't do it because I'll actually like mess my pants, so I just let Sean do it. But in this one, it's like it's marked more like these guys are like literally slaves and they're being forced to basically fight to the death, and they've been marked. They've been marked with tattoos, which is just crazy. And they gloss over it in the original when you don't really know what's going on. So now they're like surrounded by like, there's these vulture things that are flying around outside. There's human bones everywhere, even in their cell. Right. So they basically staged this kind of like pretty crazy escape attempt, which was a little nuts. And they decide that they're going to fly to they're literally going to fly, because they're going to climb out and they're going to make their way to where these vultures are just flying around and quote unquote use them as hang gliders.
Makes sense.
Was there any point where you were just like, I really hope that Wentworth Miller and Dominic Purcell show up?
and help him out.
This is the sequel to Prison Break.
That's funny.
That we've been waiting for.
Beast King GoLion Prison Break.
Prison Break.
I love it. So that gets a little crazy. Like, okay, that's your first kind of, not your first mention, because there's these giant robot beast things that are eating human flesh, but the first time you see that there's kind of like some cartoonish quality to it is when they're flying. They're like grabbing hold of the vulture legs and like flying off to the where were they going? The spaceport or the
before that, Dave, the biggest thing that they come across at this point is the first time that they reflect on the dead and pray.
They do pray.
Oh, I missed that. How did I miss that?
Mm-hmm. I don't know, because there's a lot of praying.
There's a lot of praying.
A lot of prayer.
Yeah, I definitely missed that.
There's a lot of moments where they fly down and they are so this is the point where Hothead and
Shorty.
So Hunk and Pidge.
Yeah. So Hothead and Get Shorty, they fall off of the vultures and they fall into this pit.
Oh, right.
And they're all those bones and skulls.
That's right.
And then what was it? Akira jumps down and is just like, "Whoa, this is some shit."
Yeah.
And then just like he's just like, "Gotta reflect on this. Rest in peace, everybody." You know. And then everybody else just kind of like looks at them, and like Hothead looks at them, and just kind of kneels, and just sort of like he sort of prays, and he's just like, "Rest in peace, everybody." And you're like, "Wow, they're actually
acknowledging it." Yeah.
Yeah. And so all those things that sort of got glossed over in Defenders of the Universe, all those things that you're just like, no, like you're in a graveyard, like you are laying in bones right now.
It's like Grave Planet. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like you are in an open tomb, and it's just totally not mentioned in Voltron. In this one, they're just like, guys, let's take a knee and talk about these people who passed away.
And I mean, and that's crazy too,
like,
but the crazier thing to even think of is that like all the footage that we've seen in Beast King GoLion, the first episode, there's maybe like 5 minutes of it total that's in the first episode of Voltron.
Yeah.
And it's literally just them in the cell, because everything else is just chopped up and chopped together from other episodes. Because this thing goes from them being in, we see the slaves, we see them in captivity, we see them escape. They make their way to one of Zarkon's ships, and they actually like commandeer it. And it was pretty funny the way that they flew away in it, because they just kind of mash on the dashboard until it starts flying away.
That escape sequence is identical in the American and the Japanese version, and it's amazing because they hijack this transport ship that has sort of like a giant bone skull on the front of it.
And they fight their way to it too, which is pretty badass.
Right. And so they get to this point, and so they've stolen this ship, and they're leaving this hangar. And in the American version, was a Hothead is just like, we should show Zarkon, and we should show him what's going on. And so they smash into the building. Yeah. And in this one, they're just like, everybody hold on and prepare and brace for impact. And you're like, all right, respect. And but it's still the same. It's still the same janky animation of this, like, of the top of this ship with like a bone skull, like the front of a road rules truck, hitting this building and but like it hits the building and the ship pauses for like a second. It's like, nope, I'm gonna continue on.
I'm gonna keep going.
Like, it goes through. You're like, oh, I don't know that that's how trajectory and physics and momentum works, but sure.
But I loved it though, because in the original one, whenever you see one of those gnarly looking road rules ships, you know it's these bad guys. And I had never connected that to it's actually our heroes that have commandeered the ship and are now flying it away.
Right.
I never connected that, because you can't tell from the exterior. It just depends on what kind of like audio and dialogue you lay over it and what kind of context you give it. So whenever we saw that shot in the original, it was actually our guys who were supposed to be flying that thing, not the bad guys. That's crazy.
So the fun thing is that we have this moment where they're getting shot down on that ship, and Melanie, you had a reaction to this.
So at this point, we're jumping ahead to where they're falling out of the sky. They're sort of gravitating towards this planet, and they're all talking about how they're going to have to eject. They're going to have to do an emergency eject from the ship, and they're sort of like figuring out where they're going to go, and then their seats just come up out of the ship, and you see this animation of the exterior of the ship. And then these 4 dining room chairs just like shoot out of the top of it. And then they're just tumbling through space. And it looks like a really shitty lazy boy chair is just like flipping uncontrollably, like going wherever. I was just like, there's no protection from the outdoors. Like, you're barely strapped in. It's like a really dangerous Six Flags ride, and you just keep
the best
flying.
Six Flags
and then
ride ever.
And it's exactly like that bad Superman ride at the Six Flags in Jersey. I guess I don't know if they're everywhere, but anyway, so they're flying and then they sort of crash land. But that was crazy.
The best thing to note is that's the identical same animation sequence that they use in the American version too.
Yeah.
Like,
I love what they picked and chose to use, right?
One of the unedited pieces that's so stupid.
Weird.
So does that pretty much bring us to the end of the first episode then?
It brings us to the castle.
Right. Which they're kind of like they're brought in by like a weird beam from the lion statue, right?
Right.
They're kind of guided into it, but that's pretty much where
they're also brought in by that door sound effects.
Oh no, you're skipping ahead now. Now you're going to the.
Well, that's okay. If you guys want to jump ahead, we can talk the ruined Phantom Planet. Oh no. There was one thing I wanted to mention about their shuttle ride, right? So they actually address. They're kind of like trying to remember or trying to figure out what happened.
Oh, right.
And this is when they actually address like what happened to Earth. So they literally, this is when the footage goes back to a ruined Earth. We had no idea it was Earth in the original series. There was like a thermonuclear war. They literally say, oh, it was when all those nuclear missiles were flying around and it completely devastated and laid waste to the Earth. And they say it kind of nonchalantly, but also like it's incredibly sadly. And then they show all that devastation that kind of happened. You're just like, what the fuck? It's not even close to the same show.
In the original, you think that Zarkon is the one who's done all of this stuff.
To a foreign planet, to a planet you've never heard of, and then they take the pains to say that, no, everybody's fine, they got to their shelters, you can't see them right now. They're totally fine.
Completely different setting in this one. It blew my mind. It was such an actually crazy great reveal. I was like, what?
Yeah. Because that is, like you said, it sets the stakes. Like, we've already had our planet wiped out. These guys have to do something to save the rest of the planets in the galaxy.
Right.
Well, and the brief thing I want to say is that I don't think it's clear who did this. And I think that what we see is that Chief is like, how could this have happened? Who is the man responsible for making this occur? And I'm like, I don't think that's how wars work, number one, but that's fine. And then
that's
like
how
they're
space
flying.
Wars work.
I guess so. So they're flying over Earth, and then Diabetes comes in and like snaps up their ship, and then that's how they end up in captivity, is because they were like going back. So I don't really know if Diabetes was responsible, but maybe he probably is, because he's fucking awful.
I'm gonna say his name's Emperor Diabetes. I'm pretty sure.
I think what he was actually doing was that from my recollection of the episode, it was something that the planet Earth started their own World War III.
Right.
And then Emperor Diabetes found out what was going on and just kind of like hung back for like a couple days.
That's why I was
let everybody else like kind of destroy themselves and was just like gonna poach.
Well, so I'm curious to see if
slaver's gonna slave.
That's right.
I'm curious to see if later we're gonna see who did start World War III on Earth. But we don't. The first 4 episodes have nothing to do with that.
Let me put this in the airwaves right now. Emperor Diabetes, if you're listening, I will be a slave roe beast on your planet. I will eat slave stew. I know how to separate torsos from the arms and head. It's a common system here at the office. So we're already kind of on board. If you want to come pick us up before whoever lays waste to the planet, just putting it out there in the airwaves. We're good to go.
It's really funny that you mentioned all that, Dave, because I saw that you had updated your LinkedIn to include all those skills.
I did.
And I endorsed you.
Oh,
for
thank
each
you
and
so
every one
much.
of them.
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome, buddy.
So hopefully the signal will get out there and we'll be on the list.
Nepotism.
Hey, whatever. You gotta eat slave stew. You gotta eat slave stew.
Yeah, whatever gets you that job, buddy.
Whatever you gotta do.
All right.
So now
what's
this
next?
is where I'm hands off, because you guys watched the next few episodes. So we've got episode 2 is Ruined Phantom Planet.
Right.
Okay.
So what craziness happens here? I have no clue what's gonna happen next. We've already had nuclear holocaust, slaves, murder, cannibalism. Crazy.
So we've already had a couple of shots now of this planet that they've landed on, which they keep telling us is called Altea. We'll call it Altea.
Sure.
And we get this vision we get this view of a lion statue and a castle, but that's not where they land. They land in sort of this desolate landscape, and the 5 are like, oh, that was really tough, and like some of them are like buried deep in the sand, and they pop up, and then all of a sudden these arrows start getting shot out at them, and they're like deftly, dodging all these arrows, and they look up and there's like arrows coming through out of this cave. And so Meathead, whatever his name is,
Either one.
is like, fuck you guys, I'm gonna come for you if you're gonna come for us. And so he grabs one of the spears and starts running towards the cave, and then all the little things that are in the cave, and you can't really see, like, maybe they're people, are they people? And they're running away.
Do you want to know?
I mean, we know. I know.
Okay.
I know now.
I know too.
I just love that in the Voltron version, they're just sitting there and just like, whoa, guys, maybe we're friends. We're not trying to hurt you at all. And it's just like that super cartoonish pain in the ass.
I think maybe
nonsense.
Shorty or Moody is like, maybe they think we're food. Maybe they think we're like animals.
They dropped the word cannibalism at this point.
They did drop the word. There's a big discussion of cannibalism here.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Maybe these beings are cannibals. They don't know. And then they make their way towards the castle pretty much after that.
Right. And so they get to the castle.
Mm-hmm.
We see the same giant lion statue with wings sort of over this huge archway,
right.
As they pass through, and they get really, really close. Now, here's what was very, very confusing is that as the ship that they have stolen is descending to Altea,
right.
they see they're getting pulled in by the statue, like by this Voltron lion statue that's pulling them in. And as they're coming down, they see the princess, and they also see Ribel standing on top of the stupid castle.
Right.
And they're like, we saw those two people back there. We should probably head to the castle and try to find out who they are. And you're like,
why?
What?
Sure.
How were you gonna go? What princess did you think? Princess?
Oh, I was like, why
like?
are we going towards Princess Peach and
exactly.
one of JoJo's descendants? Like, what's going on?
Throwback to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. That's fantastic.
Don't tell me that guy does not look like whatever.
He
really
There's
does.
so many JoJo's.
Oh, what was the other guy's name? What was the vampire
Looks
dude's
like
name?
Jonathan Joestar.
Oh God, no, the other guy, the D
Dio?
something. Dio. Yeah.
Dio.
Good stuff.
Oh man. Hey, let's get into it because I'm now well into the third season of that
Oh
show.
my God. It's an addiction. It
So
fuels
good.
your addiction. So yeah, so they're gonna go meet the princess and JoJo.
So they're like crash landing. They're crash landing, and they see Casey, Falafel, and JoJo,
Mm-hmm.
and they're just like, we need to get to this location. And then, which is, as they get there, the drawbridge, same as the American version, lowers,
Right.
and they come up to the door, the main gate of the castle. And this moment was hilarious because I would have never picked this out, and it was not in the American version. But Melanie had one of the best summaries of exactly what is going on in this moment. Like, Peter and John got their money's worth, or didn't take advantage, I guess, of the sound effects that was used for the door opening, which is like 30 seconds long.
It feels like it's forever. I was like, they used that entire clip. They used the whole
Their
thing.
intern
It's like
couldn't
a
figure out how to cut it, so they just used the whole thing.
They were just like, guys, we got to animate the entire clip.
And
Could
this
you
is the
imagine
Japanese
that?
version.
Oh
And
my
so
God.
it's this long ass. And then you're just like, oh, it's done. And they're like, you're like, I'm gonna wait for it.
And then because it came in a set after they go through the door and the door closes, you get the.
That's worth a watch right there.
It was like a minute of this whole fucking show of them like walking in. It was insane. Well, so they get in here, and I think one of the big differences is that suddenly like they're being given, they're having this conversation about everything that's going on, and then all of a sudden Ribel does something that seems very uncharacteristic, and so he has like a staff, and they are all still carrying the spears that Hothead had caught
from the
from
cave.
the native Alteans. And so at this point, suddenly Ribel just has this cane and just goes to strike Chief, like for no reason. And he just like, he puts his stick up and just catches it. And they're like, what did you do that for? And he's like, I had to make sure that you were serious about this, and I had to test your skill. And you're like, what?
Well, at least it's
Ribel's
better
really
than the American
playing-
version
What?
when they were just like, hey, come on in. You're probably the guys we're looking for.
Right.
Yeah.
oh, it turns out we have 5 lions and 5 white guys just stumbled in. Coincidence?
Yeah.
It's a lot of inconsistencies with Ribel.
Oh, yeah? Is he as
We-
crazy
Yeah.
as he was in the American version? Is he talking to himself?
No, he's not talking to himself, but certainly I think I'm unclear about what kind of power Ribel has in general. And so we see these moments where like he's really testing the 5, where he's like talking about how they're going to be the heroes, and he's talking about the lore of the GoLion and how it like split into 5 and whatever. Because this is also, I should say, that this is the first time they're hearing of this story.
See, no, that makes sense, because what Sean had noticed before was that Ribel, who was named Corin then in the American version, was just kind of like, he was like, we've been waiting for you forever, but should I give them the keys to this? We have lions waiting for you, but should I give them the lions? And he kept going back and forth and like had this weird kind of like tete-a-tete with himself. But we thought it was maybe because in the Japanese version, he had a really long explanation of a mythology that he was just talking for a long time.
So like he had this, in the American version, he has this apologia and just ends up looking like a coy doofus the entire time.
Pretty much.
Oh, so it is the same kind of thing?
He's not talking to himself, but there definitely is a hesitancy for a reason that is like not totally clear about letting them into the GoLion mythos.
Into the party.
Yeah, I mean the
He's
long
basically
story
like the
short,
GoLion he's the Beast King bouncer.
But he is, and then he isn't.
Okay.
Because really, like, we're gonna build up to a moment where Princess Falafel is basically just like, yeah, guys, let's do it. And then they just fucking do it. But after a lot of protest. Yeah, and that's like 3 episodes.
Oh, I thought you
later.
meant they all just like were like fucking.
No, they're not.
Because that's what you said. You were like, let's just fucking
No
do
orgies.
it. And I was like, oh wow,
Nah.
this really is a different show from what I saw as a child.
Very adult
No.
tone. So at this point, once they get all of the lore, this is the end of episode 2, where they're introduced to the Voltron, mythos, and they learn about this thing that tried to fight God and was punished.
Let me ask you this: is it any cooler in the Japanese version? Like, do they have any other? Are there any other like additional things? Because I mean, the whole thing from Voltron, we never learned that this was like a sentient robot that tried to fight God and was punished. So is there any other cool stuff that kind of comes from the Japanese version?
I mean, I enjoy that they set it up as that GoLion fights the goddess of the universe. Like, it's not just God. It's like, I think the goddess of the universe is greater than God, personally.
Scandal, you heard it here
Whoa.
first.
Let's bring the Jew on to the show and just blow up religion.
Just a disclaimer, neither Sean nor myself said that last statement.
Well, you have to realize that in the Voltron, the American Voltron version, the witch thing that is called Hagar creates an angel that then talks to Voltron, sentient robot, and is just like, come closer, and then curses him. Right. And so very, very different legend.
That's the explanation in the narration that takes about 30 seconds. They just gloss over the whole like mythos of the creation of this thing.
Yeah. But so we learn about that mythos, and we learn about how the 5 lions are like split up all over Altea. And then we learn about how 15 years ago Altea was attacked by Diabetes and his troops. And like all these people were like the land was decimated, all this shit happened, stuff was burning. And then he pretty much ended Princess Falafel's father's life and his mother and her mother and like any other relatives. And Ribel scurried away with little teeny 1-year-old Princess Falafel and saved her. Right. And so now she's 16. She's coming into her own. She's not quite a girl and not yet a woman. She's Britney Spearsing it up. And but
hopefully she doesn't crossroads it.
She doesn't crossroads it, but she is crying crystal glitter tears. Aww. And is really hoping that the 5 guys are going to come on as the GoLion heroes, basically.
Okay. Well, they actually gave her a backstory in this one, which is phenomenal to hear. And so this was at the point that at the end of episode 2, this is where I was not able to proceed any further.
So it's the Melanie show from here on out.
It's the Melanie show for episode 3 and 4.
No, this is great because I want to hear kind of, the high level of kind of what happens, and then we can Sean and I can just kind of been like, oh, that makes so much more sense than whatever the fuck happened in the American version.
Okay, great.
So what you got?
So we get into episode 3, which is called Ghost and the Five Keys.
Which, do you know the version that it was called in the American version? The English version? No. Yeah, do you know, Sean?
Yeah, Ghost and the Four Keys.
Are you fucking serious?
That still kills me. Yeah, we're not even making that up. That's legit.
Well, that will make sense in a second,
right.
actually. So we sort of cut back to I was going to call him Beelzebub this time, which is not the same.
It's close.
Diabetes. We cut back to Diabetes, who, like, at this point, you know, the five have crash landed onto Altea, and Diabetes is, like, trying to find their bodies because they know, like, that they stole a ship and all this stuff, and they can't find any bodies. And they're like, dude, this is fucked up. Like, there should be nobody on this planet. Why is this so hard? And that's when the sentient cat thing is like, oh, meow, 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 meow. And then the other guy's like, you know what? I think someone's trying to hide them. And this is where I earlier wanted to set up the relationship between the creepy demon cat and the sort of advisor, because they're really telling Diabetes how to do his job.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
They're doing that suggestive thing, which is like, don't you normally double check to make sure your job is done? And Diabetes is like, yeah, I should double check to make sure I did the job right.
They're basically like the Starscream to Megatron. They're like, they're kind of vying for some more power, but at the same time, like, they're not real happy about where they are. Yeah.
Or they're just really, truly in power, and it's just a shadow puppet government.
Possible.
We just don't know.
Okay.
So then Diabetes has sent already, like, his captain with the swoopy eye patch thing has already, like, gone out to look for them but can't find them. So then the sentient cat is like, meow, 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 you should send a demon thing. What are they called again? Death Black Beastman down to Altea to, like, just make sure the job is done. Sure. And that's when the Death Black Beastman gets packed up in the craziest, like,
I love this
airship coffin.
Space coffin.
I love the space
airship
coffin.
Space coffin.
Because they
it's
show
like,
it in the American version, but they don't really, like, focus on it too much because they don't want to be like, it's a space coffin. But they show it from, like, the side. I love this version, though, because they're just like, yeah, fuck yeah, full on space coffin.
I'm glad that they thought that the coffin was the fastest mode of transportation in this moment, so that's all I can say about that. So anyway, so they do that. And then we cut back to Altea, and Rybel and Princess Falafel and the five are talking about how to move with GoLion. Okay. And they're like, okay, great. So in order to operate the 5 lions, there are keys.
Right, as you do.
That we have to, because you gotta have a key to put into the ignition.
They're not even like the remote entry or like the, the fob keys or anything. They're like legit.
No.
Yeah, magic keys.
And more importantly, what's the location, the clear location to keep your keys? With you on your dead body. That's the only place to leave them.
Yep. That's neat and fun. On the king, right? On the dead king?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're on the dead king. So we're all going to the dead king, and Rybel is like, Princess, you can't come with us because I don't want you to see your father's remains. And she's like, I mean, I'm a girl, so I should be able to see my dad's remains. I don't understand. I'm an adult.
Can I just say, I want Mel to translate every future episode because this is amazing. I love her cat noises and her princess voice. Mel's a permanent installation from now on.
So that actually tracks rather well because in the American version, Rybel is just like, you shouldn't go see your father. It's just going to bring sorrow and sadness to you. And she's like, I actually take comfort and strength from knowing that my father is in a better place right now. And Rybel's response in the American version is like, oh. And then she just like rides in the elevator down to the tomb.
No, there is. So
it's like it.
No, so we take this moment for Rybel to be like, let me really explain why you shouldn't see your dad. And then
I've been doing stuff to him.
Fucking his cold dead corpse. So we get this cut back to the past, to 15 years in the past. And Diabetes is talking to King Falafel. I guess I'm just going to call him King Falafel.
Sure.
And Queen Falafel. And they're like protesting about, you're a garbage human, Diabetes. Why are you even doing this? And he's like, fuck you, bitches. and then he beheads them.
Wow.
Whoa.
He beheads the whole
What?
family. Yeah, this is what I'm saying.
Whoa. I knew there
So
was
the
like bad
reason-
blood between them, and that the king in various versions has like died at Diabetes' hands. I did not know he and Lady Falafel were beheaded. However,
Holy
that's fun.
crap.
They were beheaded. So Rybel is like, I really don't want you to see the severed head of your father, which is fair.
What?
Makes sense.
Yeah, which is fair.
All right.
And
legit.
so she's like, and that's when she says kind of the same thing, like, I take strength knowing that my father died for justice or something like that. So then they go down into, as I think maybe you mentioned this and I'm not sure, surprisingly technologically advanced space tube thing.
Yeah.
And they go down into the earth. And the five, and it's, you know, what's great about this is that this show is very self-aware, because the five are like, so the planet was decimated, but this works really well. And then Rybel says like, oh, well, the king kind of knew that like shit was going south for the winter, so he really like fortified this castle in an amazing way. And they were like, oh, that makes sense. And I was like, oh yeah, that does make sense.
Sure.
So they go down. And that's when we move mythologies from Greek and Roman into Egyptian, because the king is kept in this like sarcophagus looking tome thing.
Probably a space coffin.
Coffin, and has these 5 boxes placed around him. But
Space-cophagus?
Space-cophagus.
Nicely
Nailed it.
done. Gold
Points.
Nailed
star
it.
for you.
Ooh, portmanteaued that.
points.
Nicely.
So we see then that one of the boxes is empty. Problems.
When you say
And-
boxes, are these just like other big sarcophagi that are sitting next to him, or are they just little like
Nope.
trinket boxes?
Inside the sarcophagus is 5 cushioned like ring boxes
like
that have
Presentation box.
the key.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Except one of the keys is missing. The
shit.
key to the black lion is missing.
Of course, always the black.
And that's when Shorty, I think that's the moment when Shorty's like, I'm gonna go look for him because I have ninja skills. I'm descended from ninjas. Woo! And then
What?
that's how come Shorty can jump so
Yo,
well.
did he
because
actually
Shorty is
say I'm descended from ninjas?
Yeah, that's what he says.
Bullshit.
No, I'm serious.
Are you fucking kidding me?
It's in his bio on Wikipedia.
I'm looking
too.
at
I
it
saw
right now. Hiroshi graduated from the academy at a young age, and his specialty is science. Like the others, he is well trained in martial arts and uses his size and agility to his advantage, owing to his ninja lineage. He's a
Oh my
ninja.
God.
He's a
He's
ninja.
Great. Ninja Pidge.
Um.
Pinja.
So Shorty goes off.
Yes.
So Shorty goes off, and something that we should mention before we go further with this is there are these four little mice characters that we see pop up randomly throughout the show, and at first they're just sort of like observing, and they're just sort of serving as like a Greek chorus, and they're just like me 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 me, and they're scurrying around and doing dumb things. But at one point, as Shorty is on his way out, he trips. And the mice kind of like run over him. He's like, I'm going to eat you, motherfuckers. And then just like gets up and keeps running. And I was like, why would you eat those mice?
That is a very different way.
It's a very, very different
what we
story than
remember.
what.
So at this point, I think I'm not really sure where the line happened between episode
Like 3 and 4.
3 and 4. Should I just keep going, or do you have any?
Yeah,
do you
yeah,
wanna-
keep-
No,
Yeah,
that's
it's-
fine. I have a quick question, though. Are we at the part yet? There's one part, well, many parts, in the American version that never made sense to me, where it's like Pidge, for whatever reason, the little green guy, Shorty, who's a ninja apparently, is like standing on the back of like a shuttle, but then just falls to the ground, and everybody kind of like laughs at him. And there's another moment where he's like up on top of a little tower, and he just like tackles people,
Jumps on people.
jumps and tackles.
Is this in the desert?
No, this was
No.
outside. Sorry, this was inside the castle.
It was like in the command center.
Yeah.
Like in the HQ command
He's
center.
like dicking
for
around. They're all
Voltron.
trying to like, we're like, oh man, we're really trying to find that 5th lion, and he's just like hiding from people and diving on them, and then just like falling over.
No.
And people are laughing.
No, he pretty much
Like
just
real
gets
playboy?
out to go find the key.
So,
Like he thinks the key is out there in the world, so he like goes into the world to find the
so
key.
they must have
and
taken
then-
this scene from like just some random moment and just used the filler because it makes zero
Yeah,
sense.
Man.
I don't
Right.
know. I don't know what that is. But so they're all. Oh, I guess they were given their
Their suits and stuff.
outfits.
Yeah, and they have
Their
that
suit
cool
outfits.
establishing shot where it's just like a solid, like a one paint, and they just pan
Yeah.
back on
Mhm.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have that already.
Nice.
No, I don't know what that is. So Shorty's out into the world looking for the key and happens upon Diabesis's troops, because at this point there's like tons of troops, and somewhere out there the beast mode death viper, whatever the fuck it's called,
beast mode death
thing.
Viper. Got it.
Yep.
Death alien is somewhere out there sleeping in its little coffin.
Right.
And,
we just call him, so I like the American version is a robeast, because it's like a robot beast.
I didn't think they were robots.
So here again, they're robots in the American version because you can kill robots at will, and you're not killing sentient life form.
It's like why G.I. Joe had something called bats, which they were just like these random robots that you could just target and shoot and pick them off, and it was like they were like stormtroopers.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know,
Like
they're nameless,
clone
they're faceless.
stormtroopers or
Oh.
the droids. It doesn't. Yeah.
Yep.
You just kill as many as you want.
Yeah. Like the clay ninjas and Power Rangers.
Yeah, putties.
Exactly.
Putties, thank you.
Exactly. Same.
Okay. So Shorty is out, and then Shorty gets in trouble.
Right.
Clearly, because Shorty's handling himself pretty well, but then like he goes down, and they see this somehow from the control tower, and the 4 that are remaining are pleading with Rival, like, please, you need to deploy GoLion, like right now. We need to like fight back, and you gotta deploy GoLion. And they're like, as a viewer, I'm like, guys, he just told us that in order to operate the lions, we need all 5
Were you
keys.
not
We don't
listening?
have all 5. Like, were we all not listening? And they're just like pleading with him, like, please, you need to deploy GoLion. And the guys not saying anything. Like, Rival's like not saying anything. The princess is like big eyes, crystal tears
Sure.
of whatever, you know. And then he goes, okay. And then the
Like, the
4
end
of them,
story.
All right.
the 4 of them take the keys that are remaining,
that.
and they
He's
get
just
into
like,
their
hey.
lions.
All right. Let's go.
So I'm going to talk quickly about the way that they get to the lions. Because let me tell you, it is the fastest
It's got to be
hour.
the same. It's got to be the same.
It's the quickest hour I've ever seen, where they like get into like they all get into individual pods and are shot off in a series of underground tubes across Altea that get them to the lion, and then it sucks them up inside of the lion. I'm just like, this must take fucking forever. How is this efficient at all? Like, just put them in a garage. Just like, you have all the space, get a garage, put all your lions in a garage. They can each have their own parking space.
Right.
And water bowl or whatever robot lions need.
A little ball of
and
oil.
just keep it in one fucking place, man.
We love that though,
Don't
because it was like,
lose 'em.
oh, we got to bury this one at the bottom of the ocean, and this one goes in the volcano. This one's out in the
Lava
desert.
pit.
Yeah. Pretty good stuff.
One goes into
In the forest.
forest.
Yeah.
Which isn't really that
No,
covert.
that
He's
guy's
just, like,
got the
in a
life.
tree.
He's just like rusting and
he's
just covered
like,
in
in a
vines.
tree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of them are like inside like, statues. It's very weird. So then they're all in the lions. They're not quite GoLion because they cannot be because they need all fucking 5 lions to be GoLion.
Right.
And they go out to try to find Shorty. Meanwhile, Shorty is picked up by some of the unknown survivors of the Altea catastrophe.
Okay,
That makes more sense.
This is tracking along
connecting
with the
some
American
dots,
version.
yeah.
And so they're brought in. Apparently, they have no more ability to speak because they're not saying. I don't actually know if
They
this
do
is true.
that in the American version because they're like at one point he just goes, "We gotta go back out there," and the guy just looks at him and goes,
That's
and
really
just
weird.
shakes his head, and you're like, "What the fuck?"
He's shaking his head. Yeah, they just don't really say anything, and so Shorty is like trying to figure out how to get back to the guys to like help him, and the guys are trying to fight back against the
Robeast.
name of this thing, the Death Black Beastman that has now woken up out of its coffin and is just destroying.
Let me ask you a
everybody.
question. Does it have giant pointy tits?
Oh yeah,
Just making sure.
it's Madonna.
Just making sure.
Madonna all over the place. Yeah. Oh yeah, giant pointy tits. So they're losing miserably, and then they all get like swacked away, and then they're sort of lying.
Fun fact: giant pointy tits monster, same in both versions. Apparently, we did not feel the need to hide that from kids.
Yeah.
No, we needed that giant pointy tits monster.
Just wanted to point that out. So go ahead. So they're
The United States was totally cool with that. We're just like more shiny tits monsters.
Madonna monsters. Yeah.
So the tit monster just sort of thwacks them. They land in the sand. They're down for the count. And the princess is crying her crystal tears again. And Ribal's like, I knew I shouldn't have let them go. It was too soon. Oh, no. And then Shorty is like freaking out, seeing what's going on. And then one of the Altea survivors with got like a torch. And he like just holds onto Shorty. And I think he may have said, come here, but it was unclear. I was like more than a beer in at this point, so I'm not really sure what happened. But then he leads him through this cave, and it's just like cave. We're just like, where the fuck are we going? And then he's just like, that way. I know he says that. He's like, that. And then Shorty sort of walks up and over this thing, and he's back at the castle.
Yo, that makes somewhat more sense than the one that we watched, because at one point this guy is just like, I have to go back to my cave people now, and just turns around and walks away. Like the weird, he doesn't tell him anything. He's like, gotta go back to my cave people.
Oh
all right, let's fuck off.
Literally the line that he uses.
It's
that bad.
I don't think he actually says anything like that.
He should have stuck that way with the American version. My cave people.
So at this point, how do they finally get the fifth
This
key?
is what I want to know. I want to see if it makes any more sense.
So I'm gonna jump quickly. Sure. So Shorty gets everybody to come back by basically just screaming into a microphone all of their nicknames, and then they wake up.
That's kind of what happens in the American version.
They wake up, and then they all come back with their lions, and I'm not really sure who has the idea, but someone's like, you know who's done this? It's the fucking mice. The mice have taken the final key.
So did they look at the coffin at this point?
They knew the coffin was missing a key. Oh yeah, and they saw like there was a hole in the coffin.
Okay, so they did go there first. Okay.
All right.
Yeah,
all right.
They knew there was a hole in the coffin that was similar to the other holes that they had seen the mice come in and out of throughout the castle. So they round up the mice, and they put them in a box. And the princess is like, no, stop, don't hurt the mice, because the two mice are my best friends. And then we cut back to this scene. Let me tell you. I mean, I don't know if you guys got this scene of ridiculousness where
we did.
Tiny Princess Falafel is crying tears of baba ganoush.
She's a delicious date.
And these little mice are like, me, and they're like, don't worry, princess, we love you.
Apparently
And
their
then,
names are Plat and Chuchul or Chuchule.
Yeah, I don't even know.
Chinchilla?
It was like
plate and chinchilla?
Plate and chinchilla.
For your baba ganoush. Okay, good.
For your baba. And they're like, don't worry. And then they put on French maid costumes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they do the can.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, we kept that in for whatever reason.
Full on bam, 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 bam. And again, this is an instance where that intern would not let that clip die. No. He's like, guys, this is just how I downloaded it. We have to play the whole thing. So this dance scene went on for what felt like forever, and the princess is like, yay, weird mice in a country that I don't know because I'm not on Earth. Yikes. Yay!
How was nobody confusing. There just like, mice, this is not the fucking time. Where's the key?
I don't know.
I'm gonna bring that space cat in here. I'm gonna tear you up.
So then the princess is like, did you guys do this? Did you take the key? And the mouse is just like, beep, beep. And then you like there's a caption bubble over the mice. It's just like, so sorry, princess, didn't know it was yours.
Talking mice. I love it.
Yeah.
So they do actually talk. So she's not just a crazy person.
No, so then they bring the key out. And then they have all 5 keys.
Nice.
And then shit's getting really bad because you can take because then the Diabetes' troops are like closing in. They're closing in on the castle. Shit's getting bad. Like the other thing I should have mentioned is that they deploy some order, which is just basically like order shoot anything that it moves. Fun. So they're just like destroying natural wildlife on Altea. Like there are these
like shooting snakes.
Yeah, they're shooting snakes.
3 damn snakes.
3 damn snakes.
So they're just like shooting snakes. But so they're closing in and they the situations become very dire. And so again, the five are like, please, Rival, can we deploy the GoLion? Please, can we deploy the GoLion? And Rival is like looking very concerned. He's like, you guys need training. If you went now, it wouldn't work. Like, you just can't do it. And then the princess is, as I mentioned however many minutes ago, yes, let's do it. And then apparently she's got all the power that is necessary. Then they they take hours to prepare and shoot down to the tubes and get into their lions.
Hold on.
They
Put the damn lions back?
Yes, because they were brought back when Shorty was like screaming their names in the control panel.
Fuck, you put them back in the volcano.
That's where they park.
Oh boy. I mean, I'm sure they did in the American version too. I just never connected the fact that they like can just park them outside somewhere.
No, they park them in the same spot.
They parked them in that hole that's on the side of the castle.
Yeah, right. That they just got blown up. Hey, we got a new garage right over here where Zarkon's forces blew a hole in our castle.
Oh boy. So then they all get into their lions, and then they go after the death beast monster thing with zero strategy, which of course they're going to get defeated. So there's like a series of things. There's like an epic battle scene that happens, but I'll spare everybody the details because it's dumb. And in the end, they
kept
turn
that
into
from the American one. All the lions kind of going after it and just randomly biting pieces of it.
Yeah, they're trying. They don't even get close, and they just get swatted off by the lion. Because again, like there's no strategy here. They're not like distracting the beast and then trying to go after him when he's distracted. Like, just nothing. They're just like aimlessly just headbutting his stomach, which is going to do zero things. And then there's something where they're like flying up into the sky, and the beast is really lazy, by the way. The beast doesn't really do much except for shoot like hot molten blue lava shots at them, which like makes them really hot.
Yeah.
Makes them really, really hot. And they're just like, oh, the hot, it's too much hot. And then, but if they just hold off, like if they can just hold on, then the hot goes away and they're totally fine.
Too much hot. I like it.
So they do this a few times, like a few rounds of getting too hot and being like, oh, you just have to withstand it. And then finally the third time, because rule of threes, they all make it through, and then they turn into GoLion, and it's very epic. And they do the 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 makes whatever GoLion.
Hold on, so that's their form up song? Is that +1?
Really?
+1 again?
Yeah.
+1.
+1. +1.
I didn't know that was their form up song. I thought it was just like a theme song.
I didn't know that either.
I don't know if I like that.
It may have just been the first time. You know how like when the first time the team gets together, they like play the theme song?
For these shows, they might do that every single time because Idiot Keith says the same damn thing about dinotherms and infracells every time.
Jesus, yeah.
And I'll form the head. Shut up, Keith.
Oh, they don't say anything. It's just the theme song plays again.
Don't say anything.
And then GoLion defeats the fuck out of the beast.
Does he form Blazing Sword?
Yes, he does form the Blazing Sword.
Nice. That's all I want.
And then just
cuts that fucker in half.
Cuts him down, and then that's it. That's the episode.
That's pretty nice. That's actually not too far off. Once we kind of got into the meat of the third and fourth, once we got past the thermonuclear holocaust and the slaving and the murders and the cannibals, it kind of evened out.
It seemed like what the big difference was between the American and the Japanese version was sort of the backstory and the premise that they build into it. But once it kind of hits them getting to the castle, the trajectory is very similar.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say, like Mel? What would you say the tone of the 4 episodes was? If there was like one specific tone that kind of comes to mind with this origin story, what would you say it was? Or as far as like, did it lean more serious? Did it have comedic moments? Was it cartoonish versus just kind of like an animated story for an older audience?
I felt like it was sort of well balanced.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it had its comedic moments. I feel like Hothead and Shorty really bring that levity to the show a little bit, and then like occasionally Moody has like something, and then they all like rib Moody for being dumb. I mean, because he is a dummy, dumb dummy. But overall, it's like really serious origin story, serious stakes, and I think there's no confusing how serious the stakes are in terms of the way that they have to battle diabetes, because like he's a Hitler.
Yeah.
He's just
Space
causing
Hitler.
constant holocausts all over the place, and then is enslaving people and then eating them. So it's like we have to fucking destroy this guy, and that's really clear.
I think it's safe to say worse than Hitler.
Yeah.
Worse
I'm gonna say worse than Hitler. Emperor Diabetes.
Definitely worse than.
Yeah. Exterminating full planets, enslaving whoever's left, and then eating whatever's left from them. That's pretty. I mean, it's efficient. I do appreciate his efficiency. Pretty grotesque, however.
Yeah.
Good systems brain.
Yeah.
Poor execution.
Yeah.
Poor execution.
Waste not, want not.
I guess
Okay, let's start with
so.
Mel, since this is the first time you've watched any Voltron stuff. Do you recommend this for our listeners out there? Beast King GoLion. Ooh.
I don't know if I would recommend this. I
Would
mean,
you say 5-year-olds should watch this?
no,
okay.
absolutely don't.
Not what I expect.
Absolutely don't watch this. I think I had a hard time with it because it is, I feel, so 80s that I thought it was made in the 70s.
Fair.
Which, I mean, I don't know if that's a thing,
I mean,
but
it
I
was
just made it a
81, so
thing.
you're pretty close.
Oh, okay. I thought it was closer to mid 80s.
So it was released 84 in the United States.
Oh,
Once
okay.
they
85,
chopped
but it was
butchered
originally
sanitized
created
it,
in 81.
Bat it back
So
out.
it makes more sense. It makes more sense that it felt very 70s because animation wise, it wasn't that great. The story is interesting. Like, I'll give it that, but do I feel like I need to go watch what else happens? No. I'm pretty good.
Okay. Sean, buddy, how about you? How do you feel about Beast King GoLion?
You know, I'm actually kind of curious to now dig in on that episode 5 of Beast King GoLion to see kind of what else happens and if that tone remains consistent. You know, it definitely seems like the tone was way more serious. There were way more stakes in the US version. And for that alone, I think I would recommend this over Defenders of the Universe. And so I'm kind of curious to see what direction this does go and if it's something that they continue to take it so seriously. And, you know, I'd actually like to see an episode listing and kind of get a little bit more of a summary of sort of what some of the plot arcs are. But I could see myself actually picking up a couple episodes of these and finding some more on YouTube and watching those.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, being a big fan of Voltron from a kid and then watching it now and kind of fall short of what you expect it to be, this was definitely closer to what I wanted from the show, I guess.
No, I agree.
And it's just, I'm blown away by how like mature the themes and stuff are, especially in a post-World War II Japan coming out with the stories of like the nuclear identity and all this kind of, you know, post-nuclear guilt kind of stuff, and all those themes you want to draw. You know, that's been done a million times from Godzilla on to up to Akira and up to, you know, modern present day stuff. So there's a lot of interesting thematic elements in there too that definitely like were just whitewashed out of the American version, probably for the best, but definitely left a lot lost in translation. So yeah, I'm looking forward to checking out some more of these, but hopefully you guys will too. And let us know out there on our Facebook page, YouTube account, Gmail if you want. Let us know your favorite Voltron series. There are more series out there. There's like Third Generation, there's Voltron Force, both of which I don't think people really like all that much. There's some rough stuff out there. We dodged a bullet on this one. We don't watch those yet.
Yeah.
Maybe in the future.
Maybe when season 2 of Voltron premieres on Netflix, we'll go back and watch some of these other lesser known Voltron versions.
We'll watch the
I've watched.
ran.
I know I've watched the one that's all CGI, and it is really,
I think
really
that's
bad,
like Third
guys.
Generation. It looks really bad. It just looked offensive to my eyes.
So terrible.
We'll have to go back if we do that. Okay, we'll watch Third Generation, Voltron Force, and we'll watch that Die Ruger 15. Maybe we'll go back and watch that original one.
Oh, I'd like to watch that
All right,
too.
cool.
It's the original vehicle Voltron.
Yeah, he's like
So
a
that'd be fun.
mobile platform, like a mobile city.
I don't even know.
Mel's
He's at that point he's just a mobile phone.
Yeah, he's just a giant. He's the first mobile phone. So that'll be next year. This time on Saturday morning cartoons.
Damn it.
Something to look forward to.
Yeah, episode 157. Holy crap. So Mel, want to say thank you very much for coming on the show again and bringing your expertise, your demon cat impressions, and your princess voice.
You're welcome.
Really do appreciate that. We hope to have you back again sometime soon.
Maybe.
Is there Is there anything that you would like to specifically plug, and where could people find you on social media?
Nothing specific, but if you are in the DC area this summer, there is so much good theater that is happening, and you guys have to go see it right now. Like, I'm totally serious. There's just so much that's going on. Capital Fringe Festival starts July 7th and runs through the 31st, so everybody should go check that out. capitalfringe.org. That's what I'm obligated to say, so I'm gonna say it. And you can all find me on the Instagrams at Melanie Gwynne, GWYNNE. And you can find me on the Twitters by the same name. And that's all me. You can see all these awesome pictures that we took from Iceland. We just got back from Iceland not too long ago. So you can go back in the archives and take a look at those. Sean, how about you?
Well, you can find me, as always, I'll be performing as a part of Washington Improv Theater, and you can find and check out tickets and sales. We're going to be doing a lot of shows during the month of July that are going to be at the Source Theater. And as always, tickets are there at witdc.org, and I will always be performing with Knox. That's NOX exclamation point. Also, I organize and am producing a festival that is going on in the DC area. It is called the District Improv Festival. It'll be premiering later this year, but I figure I should probably kind of chat and talk about it a little bit now.
Exclusive.
If you are an improv troupe or are a member of an improv troupe, you are welcome to submit to this festival. We would love to have you. Submissions are going to be closing at the end of June, and the festival goes on in November. It'll be November 9th to the 12th, and we have a fantastic headliner that's from LA, as well as also from Chicago, that is called Dummy. It is a duo-prov. They are phenomenal and fantastic, and we're super excited to have them. So you can check out more information on that, and that is at districtimprov.org. And, as always, you can find me on the Twitters and the Instagrams at Sean Paul Ellis for more pictures on Iceland.
That's super cool, man. Congratulations. I didn't know you guys had that going on. That's really cool to hear. I mean, I totally knew all about it, and we're happy to be a sponsor, ?
Yeah, we will actually be a donor on the donator or on the donation board, so people will have an opportunity to see and get an opportunity. We will be making a nice little donation on behalf.
Very cool. And if that was a lot of information for you guys, don't worry about it. We will have it over on our webpage, and we'll tell you about that in 1 second. As for me, you can find me over at collider.com. You can also find me on nerdist.com, where I'm a freelance science writer. You can also check out my own handiwork over at davetrumbore.com if you're interested in some of my short fiction. If you want to know more about Saturday morning cartoons, you can check out our website, SaturdayMorningCartoons.com. Remember, that's morning with a U. Check us out on Twitter at MorningToons. Check out more of Sean's handiwork over on our Tumblr page, SaturdayMorningCartoons.tumblr.com. You guys have been great on our Facebook pages and YouTube accounts, so please keep that up. We really do appreciate it, and it just kind of makes us feel good when we see all those likes and shares going up there. So. And your comments, too. We love talking to you guys. That's really the best way to get in touch with us and to keep the love going. You can also listen to our podcast each and every week for free through iTunes and Stitcher. And if you'd like to drop us a line or suggest a cartoon for a future episode, drop us an email, SaturdayMorningCartoons@gmail.com. That's going to wrap it up for Mel, Sean, and myself, as well as for Voltron for this month. Hope you guys have been enjoying the Netflix series. Let us know how you think about that one. Let us know if you prefer the American Voltron over the Japanese one. Let us know if we ruined your childhood or improved it or saved you, and anything else. Pretty much anything that comes across your mind, just let us know. Any final thoughts from you guys for Voltron month?
No, this was interesting to kind of get back into one of the shows that sort of was the genesis for this entire podcast, or at least helped me coin some of the nostalgic terms and phrases for this. So this was a pleasure and a disappointment.
As always. I'm glad we could introduce Mel to this one too. So congrats, Mel.
Let me know in the comments on a scale from 1 to 10 how much I've disappointed you with my with my dissection of this show.
No, we appreciate it though, because now you can scratch this one off your list, and you can scratch this episode off your list because we're all done. Thank you guys for listening so much. Until next time, this has been Saturday Morning Cartoons. Thanks for listening.
Hey, everybody. Thanks a lot for listening to Saturday Morning Cartoons. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to transform and roll out.